This is one of the strangest events in human history. Thousands upon thousands of people danced non-stop for weeks until they literally died from exhaustion. It's called the Dancing Plague of 1518, and it happened right here in Strasbourg, the city that I'm sitting in right now. I'm obsessed with this story because I can't believe that something like this could happen today. So we're going to talk about what actually caused the dancing plague. Did they just have too much MDMA back then? Was it some weird medical condition? Or was it demonic possession? So it all started on July 14th, 1518. That date is important because it was a Sunday, and every Sunday in the 16th century, people would go to church in their finest clothes. Well, on this particular Sunday, when people arrived at the church, they found that the doors were locked. The priest didn't show up, so no one could get inside. So these hundreds of people who showed up for church that day began to dance in the street. Maybe they were bored, or maybe they were just getting their groove on. But whatever the reason, they danced and danced and danced until late into the night. And then something very strange happened. One woman collapsed from exhaustion and died right there in the street. But instead of stopping the party, more people joined in. Within days, over 4,000 people were dancing, and it seemed like no one wanted to stop. They danced in the streets, they danced in the marketplace, they danced at home, they danced while working, they even danced while eating. It was literally impossible to stop them. But there was a problem because this dancing frenzy lasted for weeks and weeks and weeks. And eventually, people began to die. At first, it was only a few people here and there, but eventually dozens of people died every day from exhaustion, heart attacks, strokes, and other terrible ailments brought on by dancing so compulsively. It gets worse because after people died, they didn't bury them. Instead, they kept on dancing on top of the corpses. Now, I've been to a lot of frat parties, but this is just wrong on so many levels. It took 5 long weeks before the dancing plague finally came to an end. In total, around 15 people died during the dancing mania, and at least another 4,000 became seriously ill. Still, that's not even the craziest part of the story. The worst part is that this wasn't the only time that this happened. In fact, there were multiple dancing plagues throughout Europe between the 14th and 17th centuries. And it wasn't just restricted to Europe. There were similar outbreaks in Japan, India, and Africa as well. So what caused this strange phenomenon? Well, nobody knows for sure, but historians and scientists have come up with a few theories. Some historians think that the dancing plague might have been caused by a misogynistic social structure. Back in the Middle Ages, women were basically second-class citizens. They had very few rights and they couldn't really own property. Also, women weren't allowed to be priests, so they had very little access to education. For poor women especially, life was very hard. They spent most of their days cleaning, cooking, taking care of children, and serving their husbands. So when the plague hit, killing off so many men, women might have seized the opportunity to just dance and dance and dance to celebrate their newfound freedom. This theory seems plausible considering that almost all of the victims of the plague were women. During the outbreak in Strasbourg, only 4 men were infected while over 1,000 women died. A more sinister theory is that the dancing plague was actually a form of protest against the high taxes imposed by the Church. You see, during the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church controlled most of the land in Europe, and they used their power to collect huge amounts of taxes. If you didn't pay your taxes, they might take away your house or force you into slavery. In 1517, Martin Luther posted his famous 95 Theses, which criticized the Catholic Church and their practices. The theses were written in Latin, so only scholars could read them, but people quickly spread them by word of mouth. Historians think that the dancing plague may have been an act of protest against the Church. People refused to work and instead chose to dance and dance and dance until they died. Another crazy theory is that the dancing plague was caused by ergot poisoning. Ergot is a fungus that grows on rye and other grains. If you eat ergot, it can cause hallucinations, convulsions, muscle spasms, and other terrible side effects. Some historians think that people ground up contaminated grain, made bread out of it, and then started to dance uncontrollably. There's just one small problem with this theory. Ergot poisoning causes people to twitch and convulse, not dance. And also, who would grind up poisonous grain on purpose? Another theory is that the dancing plague was caused by mass psychogenic illness. This is a condition where people begin to experience physical symptoms because of stress or anxiety. For example, if someone fakes a seizure, other people might start seizing as well. Same thing with dancing. If a few people started dancing uncontrollably, it might have triggered other people to join in. Kind of like when everyone stands up during the Macarena at a 90s party. One of the most popular theories is that the dancing plague was caused by a parasite called Tunga penetrans. These parasites are commonly found in tropical climates, and they usually infect poor people who don't have access to basic sanitation. Tungiasis can cause intense itching, and people often become delirious, which can lead to seizures, convulsions, and uncontrolled dancing. Finally, some historians say that the dancing plague was simply demonic possession. You see, during the Middle Ages, people believed that the devil could enter a person's body and control their mind. This was especially common among women since they were seen as weaker and more susceptible to temptation. To prevent demonic possession, people wore amulets and crosses, and they would also perform bizarre rituals to ward off evil spirits. But sometimes these rituals involved dancing, and it seems like that's exactly what happened during the dancing plague. People became possessed and just couldn't stop dancing until they died. So what actually happened during the dancing plague of 1518? I honestly don't know. It's very possible that there was no single cause. Instead, there might have been a perfect storm of factors that led to the dancing plague, including poverty, religious fervor, and a lack of basic medical knowledge. What do you think happened? Let me know in the comments below. Now I'm gonna go check out the spot where people died from the dancing plague right here in Strasbourg. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. If you want to visit the places I talk about, I post the locations of all my videos online. The coolest thing about being able to travel again is being able to meet other creators in person. If you make videos about history, culture, science, or anything else, you can fill out a form, and I will try to visit you in your home city. It's a great way for both of us to learn about a new place and meet other cool people. Thanks to these supporters for making it possible for me to travel and make videos full-time, and thanks to all of you for watching. Bye.